और तकसीम के बाद कहानी थोड़ी सी बता सकती हूँ. उसके हवाले से आई थिंक स्पेशली क्योंकि ये सिटीज के हवाले से और लाहौर के बारे में भी फोकस कर रहा है ये पैनल. तो देयर आर जस्ट 2 or 3 small stories that I want to share with you guys. My own research work has focused on documents. So I guess you could call me then more of an armchair activist than someone who actually knows what's going on the ground. Again, we'll do something tell you more about that. But I look at labor law cases, I look at newspapers, National Assembly reports. So उनको देख के और चंद इंटरव्यूज करके मैंने ये कहानी लिखी थी. तो मैं कहानी इसलिए कह रही हूँ because that is how I see it, and that is part of the sources that I use as well. So without further ado, the story of Lahore as such really is not of a city that is part of Pakistan alone. क्योंकि अगर हम लाहौर को देखें as just a part of Pakistan, then we automatically see it in the same frame that we would see all Pakistani cities. Lahore, for many of the industrial workers, was a city that was very important for some few industries that were concentrated. Now, जब भी मैंने internationally ये बात की है कि लाहौर में भी सनती मजदूरों की एक तहरीक चली थी और 50s और 60s में भी ये बहुत अहम थी और 1968-69 में अयूब खान के खिलाफ तो बहुत ही बड़े पैमाने पे हुई थी. तो लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं कि ये लेकिन लाहौर में तो सनती इदारे थे. तो अगर हम मजदूरों की बात करें तो लाहौर की क्यों बात करें, हम कराची की बात करें. तो उसमें ये मिस आउट हो जाता है कि मुगलपुरा की जो मेन वर्कशॉप थी इन द नॉर्थ ऑफ लाहौर, दैट वाज वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट एट दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम. इट वाज कंसिडर्ड द बिगेस्ट इन साउथ एशिया. So there was actually, even though Lahore was technically not an industrial city, it was very important for certain industrial establishments. Agar Lahore ki ab city, if you remove it from just part of Pakistan and look at it in a longer vein, then you also see that at the end of the Second World War, you actually had certain industries that were concentrated here because they had built contracts. So, for example, for the Second World War. So, for example, Batapur, which started off in Calcutta, and was a Czechoslovakian company, made a sister factory in Punjab. And that from Batanagar to Batapur. So, in the north of Lahore, that was that area. You also had the Batala Engineering Company, which at that point in time was in Badami Bagh. And in that way, so you had, and these were all concentrated near the Mughulpura area. So, all of this was in the north of Lahore. So part of the story that I'm going to be telling is a shift of that politics from the north to the south of Lahore. Okay, so what starts happening around partition is that the books and stories and narratives of Pakistan will tell you that everyone was talking about partition. कि पाकिस्तान का क्या मतलब है, हमारे rights कैसे पाकिस्तान में पूरे होंगे. But with regard to industrial workers, सनती मजदूरों के मुतालबात हम देखते हैं कि थोड़े से उस वक्त भी मुख्तलिफ थे. So 1946 में Mirza Muhammad Ibrahim was centrally involved in a strike that took place it was actually conducted under the All India Railwaymen's Federation at that time. And this organization said that we are going to mobilize, this was the threat that they made right before 1946, that we are going to be able to mobilize 300,000 workers. So that's a huge number. What they're talking about, of course, is not only in Lahore, they're talking about across India. Because उनका network लाहौर में centered था, लेकिन across India फैला हुआ था. So one of the things we have to think about is तकसीम के बाद ये network भी टूटेगा, right? So what we know is that these railway workers are demanding at this point in time कि हमारे लिए पाकिस्तान के बारे में बात करना कम अहमियत रखती है. हमारे वेजेस, हमारी पे कमीशन के रिकमेंडेशंस वगैरह के बारे में बात करना ज्यादा जरूरी है. So उस वक्त वो ये उठाते हैं डिमांड के 1946 में ऑब्वियसली रायट्स वगैरह उस वक्त तक शुरू हो गए थे. तो जब हालात बहुत ही खराब हो गए थे पंजाब में, तो ऑल इंडिया रेलवेमेंस फेडरेशन said, okay, we're going to halt our demands. But then what they said afterward is crucial. They said, but we want the future dominions of India and Pakistan to still consider the demands of the All India Railwaymen's Federation and make sure that after this situation has stabilized, they still consider it. That means that in the demands of many industrial workers in Punjab at that point in time, it was actually still the idea that we are all going to be united and be able to fight on a united platform against capitalists, against these industrialists, was still something that they thought would be possible. In other words, for their organization, their solidarity, उनकी तहरीक को continue करने के लिए तकसीम का बहुत ज़्यादा एक अहम रोल था in confusing them about what it is that they do. It is for this reason that 1947 happens, and right after Sajjad Zahir of the Communist Party says कि लाहौर में कोई एक्टिविटी हो ही नहीं सकती क्योंकि लाहौर एक अहम शहर नहीं रहा, वो एक बॉर्डर शहर हो गया. So in other words, the characterization of Lahore had changed. It's no longer a cultural, pluralistic, whatever city. It's seen as something that is more important because it's a border city, suddenly closer to India. And then Sajjad Zahir afterward is writing these letters and he says, have you seen the Railway Men's Federation is involved? The Batapur workers have suddenly gotten involved because there was a huge strike activity then, literally 4 months after partition, organized by Mirza Muhammad Ibrahim, who was trying to continue his earlier strike. And in that, there is the realization that industrial workers continue to matter in the city of Lahore. Now, this is for two reasons. For the communists, this was for two reasons. One, they were, उनकी जो theories थी, उनकी texts थे, उसमें कहते थे कि सनती मजदूर जो हैं, उनका एक बहुत अहम role होएगा in the revolution that is to come. Right? We all know this with the idea of that Marx put forward anyway. But at this point, it wasn't theoretically that they came up with this idea. They changed their idea based on what the workers were doing. So in spite of us talking about how partition meant that networks ended up being disrupted, there was still a continuity that was possible because of the knowledge of organization, right? So in the north of Lahore, in that small area where Mughalpura was, where Batapur was, where, along the GT road there were various factories, अगर सारे लोग निकल आते थे, तो even if there were 30,000 workers, it seemed like they were a lot more because as a percentage of the population out on the streets, they were very, very visible, right? So that means that even if we look at Lahore as a shattered city where everything had to be created from scratch after 1947, in actuality, there